Hello and welcome to Fantasy Football by Ben. Today, I'll be doing my Week 12 rankings, wide receivers, and tight ends. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Hope you guys are having a great day. Now let's get into these rankings. For the first wide receiver we are going to be talking about today, it is Davante Adams versus the Bears. Bears have been really tough this year, but Davante Adams has been the best receiver when he's been healthy. And I think Davante Adams just, with his 10 touchdowns and 7 games, I think that there's no reason for you to sit Davante Adams or even consider sitting Davante Adams this week. At number 2, I have Keenan Allen at Bills. Keenan Allen last week had 16 catches for 150 yards and a touchdown. Keenan Allen was a beast. I expect him to be a beast again, and I think this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. At number 3, I have DeAndre Hopkins at Patriots. Patriots have a tough secondary, and he'll probably be shadowed by Stephon Gilmore, but DeAndre Hopkins is someone you just don't sit. He's leading the league in receiving yards. DeAndre Hopkins is just someone you don't sit. He gets a lot of targets. At number 4, I have DK Metcalf against the Eagles on Monday. And DK Metcalf doesn't really have a tough matchup this week. Maybe Darius Slayton will fall him around, but that's worst come to worst scenario. And, I mean, DK Metcalf is pretty much just matchup proof. He's been a beast, and I expect him to be a beast again this week. At number 5, I have Tyreek Hill at Buccaneers. So the Buccaneers got destroyed last week on the outside by Robert Woods and, in the slot by Cooper Kupp. And, I mean, Tyreek Hill runs 70 out of the outside and 30 in the slot, so this could be a big week for Tyreek Hill. And I don't think the Buccaneers secondary is ready for a speedy guy like that. At number 6, I have Stefon Diggs versus the Chargers. Like I was saying with Keenan Allen, I do think this is going to be a high-scoring game, so I think that Stefon Diggs is going to have a big week, potentially. And, I mean, he's been a top 5 receiver this year, so I do think that he's very steady and solid in your lineup every week. At number 7, I have Terry McLaurin at Cowboys. So, first time Terry McLaurin played the Cowboys, he caught a touchdown. Went for 95 yards and a touchdown and 7 catches. He had a really good game, and I think he can do that again this week against the Cowboys. Even if he's a little banged up, I do think he's still going to have a big week. At number 8, I have Calvin Ridley versus the Raiders. The Raiders just haven't been good against outside receivers this year, and I do think Calvin Ridley's been getting better steadily since he's been back. I mean, obviously he's only been back for 1 week, but I do think that after that 1 week and I think just playing, I think he feels a lot better now. So I do think Calvin Ridley's going to have a big week this week. At number 9, I have Tyler Lockett at Eagles. That's a Monday night game as well, like DK Metcalf on the same team. I mean, Tyler Lockett's pretty much off and on, so whether this is going to be a big game for him or not, I don't know. But I think it could be a big game for Tyler Lockett this week, especially if DK Metcalf's production is slowed down a little bit. At number 10, I have Michael Thomas at the Broncos. And so Michael Thomas, since he's been back from his injury, hasn't been amazing or anything. But then last week he had 9 for 104. So I do think that with Taysom Hill throwing the ball, Michael Thomas has been better. And so I expect Michael Thomas to have a big week this week against the Broncos. At number 11, I have Will Fuller at Lions, which is at 11:30 today. So, and so Will Fuller, I mean, he's solid, and I think he's a good play against anybody, basically. He's been really solid the last couple weeks. And, I mean, even if he scores you like 13 points, it's a pretty solid week for a receiver. I think so. At number 12, I have Justin Jefferson versus the Panthers. So, if Adam Thielen doesn't play, I might move Justin Jefferson up, but as of right now, I have Justin Jefferson at 12. I think he's a pretty solid play against the Panthers this week, and even if with Adam Thielen playing, I think that he's pretty solid this week. At number 13, I have Adam Thielen versus the Panthers. Same team. I think that this is a pretty tough defense, but at the same time, they're not going to just run all over them because I think the Panthers could score a lot of points this game, so they're going to need to throw the ball a little bit. At number 14, I have Julio Jones versus the Raiders. Like I was saying with Calvin Ridley, basically Julio Jones got hurt in the last game, and we don't know if he's going to play 100%, but I do like his matchup if he does play. Realistically, if he was fully healthy, he would definitely be in the top 10. And so right now I have him at 14, but obviously if he practices and is fully healthy going into the game, I think I could move him up quite a bit. At number 15, I have A.J. Brown at Colts. So, A.J. Brown, when he played the Colts 2 weeks ago, he had a really good game. I mean, A.J. Brown, or a really bad game, sorry. 1 for 21, but A.J. Brown's pretty much just matchup proof, and so I think with being the wide receiver one in that offense, he could get a lot of volume this week, and he could have a bounce back week from the first time he played the Colts. At number 16, I have Diontae Johnson versus the Ravens. Diontae Johnson has seen 15 targets, 3 targets, which 3 targets he played only a little bit of the game against Baltimore, which is who they played this week. 10 targets, 11 targets, 15. Or 16 last week, sorry. I mean, Diontae Johnson, when he's been healthy, he's been their big target guy, and I think he's going to have a really good week against the Ravens this week. At number 17, I have Cooper Kupp versus the 49ers. 49ers haven't been great against slot receivers this year, and so I do think that this could be a big week for Cooper Kupp. I really like his matchup, and he's coming off of a really big game. At number 18, I have Allen Robinson at Packers. So Allen Robinson's been a beast against the Packers the last 2 times they've played. And, I mean, Allen Robinson in general is just a beast, so I do think that this could be a really big week for Allen Robinson. Even against a tougher opponent, the Packers are a pretty tough opponent. At number 19, I have Chase Claypool versus the Ravens. Chase Claypool has just had a nose for the touchdown and for the end zone this year. He has 10 receiving touchdowns this year. And, I mean, I think he's just a great play all around. No matter the matchup, he's kind of matchup proof just like most of those guys above him. I do think that this could be a big week for Chase Claypool this week, and I have him at number 19. At number 20, I have Robert Woods versus the 49ers. 49ers just realistically haven't been great against outside receivers. Michael Thomas did well against them. Davante Adams, and that's just off the top of my head. I mean, Robert Woods coming off a really big game last week as well, and he's seen 6 touchdowns this year receiving, or 5 touchdowns receiving this year, 2 rushing, so I do think that this could be a big week for Robert Woods. At number 21, I have DeVante Parker at Jets. We just saw Keenan Allen just cook up the Jets on Sunday, so I mean, seeing DeVante Parker potentially do the same thing wouldn't surprise me. I think this could be a really big game for DeVante Parker. I'm at number 21. At number 22, I have DJ Moore at Vikings. If you listen to my bold prediction, I have Teddy Bridgewater finishing as a top 5 quarterback in my bold prediction, and DJ Moore and Robby Anderson are going to have to help with that. And so I have DJ Moore at 22. He's coming off a really good week last week, 7 for 137. I mean, he just looks like the wide receiver 1 to me in that offense. That's why I'm ranked higher than Robby Anderson this week. At number 23, I have Chris Godwin versus the Chiefs. Chiefs secondary has been really good this year, but last week they didn't look good, and they haven't looked good against the Raiders at all since they've played them twice. And Chris Godwin could have a big week. I mean, he had a good week last week, but I think he'll slow down a little bit this week. At number 24, I have Robby Anderson at Vikings. Like I was saying with DJ Moore, I do think that if Teddy Bridgewater is going to be a top 5 QB, he's going to have to throw the ball to one of these receivers. So I do think it's going to be either DJ Moore or Robby Anderson. Curtis Samuel might be in there, but I didn't rank Curtis Samuel in my top 30 this week. I do think he could be one of the people that benefit from the well-playing game of Teddy Bridgewater. At number 25, I have Brandin Cooks at Lions. And Brandin Cooks is really solid. I mean, he's seen 5 targets in every single game that he's played the full game. And so I do think that this could be a big week for Brandin Cooks this week. I have him at number 25. At number 26, I have Mike Evans versus the Chiefs. Like I was saying with Chris Godwin, I mean, Mike Evans probably realistically should be higher than Chris Godwin because he gets touchdowns. I mean, he has 9 in the red zone this year. And so Mike Evans is a really solid play every week. And I do think this is a tough matchup for him, but I do think he's pretty much just a lock-and-play guy. At number 27, I have Amari Cooper versus Washington. I do think that Andy Dalton playing is going to help Amari Cooper. And so, I mean, last time he played Washington, he didn't do amazing, but he didn't do bad or anything. So I do think that Amari Cooper could have a big game this week, potentially. And that's going to be played today, on Thursday. My 28th player ranked wide receiver, I have DJ Chark versus the Browns. The Browns secondary hasn't really been good, and I do think putting in Mike Glennon might help DJ Chark this week. But I liked Luton. I liked how much he targeted DJ Chark. I did think that some of the throws were a little off, or, I mean, I guess I'm not one to judge. I'm not a quarterback or anything. So, at number 29, I have JuJu Smith-Schuster versus the Ravens. I mean, I think that Juju's got the toughest because most likely Marlon Humphrey will be covering him in the slot. And so I think this is going to be a really tough matchup for Juju. But I do think that Juju might score this week, and I do think that all of the wide receivers for the Steelers are pretty much must-starts. At number 30, I have Darius Slayton at Bengals. Bengals, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with the Giants because of Joe Burrow getting hurt, but potentially they can. And I do think that Darius Slayton might have a big game this week against the Bengals. I like him. I have him at number 30. Okay, now let's get into my tight end rankings. So, for this week, my tight end one, pretty much every week, is Travis Kelce at Buccaneers. Travis Kelce last week is coming off a really, really big game. I mean, he had over 100 yards and he had a touchdown. He had a lot of catches. He looked really good. I do think that Travis Kelce will finish as a tight end one this year, so I do have him ranked number one right now this week and probably every week going forward. At number 2 this week, I have Darren Waller at Falcons. Falcons are the worst defense against tight ends, and Darren Waller's coming off of his best game of the season, and so I do think that Darren Waller might build on this, and he might have another big week against the worst tight end defense, and he's Derek Carr's favorite target. At number 3, I have TJ Hockenson versus the Texans. I do think this could be a really big game for TJ Hockenson. I like him this week against the Texans. I have him at number 3. I think that he's just been pretty much solid for you if you start him every week. At number 4, I have Hunter Henry at Bills. Bills are not very good against tight ends, and Hunter Henry was, solid this year, and he was my bold prediction, and I do think that I'm just going to stick with it. I do like Hunter Henry this week against the Bills, who have not been good against tight ends. At number 5, I have Dallas Goedert versus Seahawks. Seahawks are actually pretty good against tight ends, but Dallas Goedert's coming off of a game where he had a touchdown and he had a big week, so I do think that Dallas Goedert could have another big week again this week. I have him at number 5. At number 6, I have Mark Andrews at Steelers. Steelers are tough, so Mark Andrews, even though he's Lamar Jackson's favorite target, I think this could be a really tough week for Mark Andrews. And the first time they played the Steelers, Mark Andrews didn't really do anything, and so I think the same thing could happen again this week against the Steelers. At number 7, I have Noah Fant versus the Saints. Noah Fant, he hasn't been amazing this year. He's been solid. Early in the year, he was better, but recently he just hasn't been as good. I think it's because Jerry Jeudy's kind of working his way up, and Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler. And so I do think that this is starting to dip down into Noah Fant's production, so I have him at number 7. I would have him higher because the Saints haven't been great against tight ends this year, so I do like Noah Fant's matchup, just the fact of, is Drew Lock going to be the quarterback that he's been the last couple of weeks where he hasn't been efficient. Number 8, I have Rob Gronkowski versus the Chiefs. So the Chiefs gave up 7 for 80 and a touchdown against Darren Waller last week, and so I do think this could be a big week for Rob Gronkowski, but last week Rob Gronkowski didn't really do too much, and so it's a off and on week, I think, for Gronk, and so hopefully this one's the on week. Number 9, I have Hayden Hurst versus the Raiders. Raiders are not very good against tight ends this year, and I do like Hayden Hurst as a tight end. He's just coming off of a game where he had 0 catches, and so I think that this could be a difficult week for Hayden Hurst realistically because, with Julio Jones playing, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, Matt Ryan's got a lot of targets to throw to, a lot of mouths to feed, as they would say. And so I do think that this could be a big week for Hayden Hurst, but if he doesn't, it wouldn't surprise me. At number 10, I have Eric Ebron versus the Ravens. Ravens are mediocre against tight ends. They're like 15th. And so I do think that Eric Ebron could have a big week this week, but as of right now, I have him ranked 10th. I do think that Diontae Johnson, JuJu, and Claypool are pretty much starts over Eric Ebron every week. If you have one of those receivers, I wouldn't play Eric Ebron this week because I don't know if the Ravens defense would allow more than a certain amount of yards or touchdowns this week because it's tough defense. At number 11, I have Evan Ingram at Bengals. Bengals are a horrible defense against tight ends, and I do think that Evan Ingram could have a big week this week going up against the Bengals, and I do like Eric Ebron this week, though, or At number 12, I have Austin Hooper at Jaguars. Jaguars are pretty easy defense, and I think Austin Hooper has been pretty solid. And I mean, I like Austin Hooper, and they haven't really had a chance to really throw the ball recently, so I think that lowers his value, but I do like Austin Hooper this week. I have him at my number 12. At number 13, I have Logan Thomas at Cowboys. Logan Thomas has been a beast, and I mean, realistically, I could probably have him definitely higher because when they played the Cowboys last time, he had a good game, so I think that he could be higher, but right now I'm at rank 13. And same thing goes with this guy. Number 14, I have Mike Gesicki at Jets. Mike Gesicki is been a beast, and I mean, he's just not scoring touchdowns, and he's been pretty off and on, but the last 3 weeks he's been pretty solid. I mean, 7 points for a fantasy tight end is pretty solid, and I think that Mike Gesicki's been pretty solid the last couple weeks. At number 15, I have Robert Tonyan versus the Bears. Bears are not very good against tight ends, which is kind of surprising to me, and so I do think that Robert Tonyan could have a really big week this week. I have him at number 15. I like his matchup against the Bears. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new, turn on the bell so you get notifications every time I post. Thank you for watching. Have a great Thanksgiving. See you tomorrow. Peace.